Hey, this is Lorena, and I wanted to do a video with you guys. I can't talk today. Well, it's been an interesting couple weeks. I have done a couple videos, and I've kind of just ditched them because I thought they were kind of like crap. So I thought maybe you guys would like some quilting, some long arm quilting, and I'm finally... my daughter was asking me why I haven't been posting videos. Well, and I'm going to share with you why. I have this project that I want to do, but I'm missing some pieces to it. I wanted to go ahead and I'm going to show you this banner. I wanted to go ahead and quilt this banner, but I would do a design on it. As a matter of fact, you could see some of the markings on it. I would do a design, and it just didn't feel right. So that's been a factor. Today is like one of the first days that I finally figured something out that I think would be to your liking, to your enjoyment. So I really do hope you like this long arm quilting video. I am going to quilt this, God willing, today. It looks like a hot mess. I want to play with this paint. I've never played with it before. I don't know what it will do. I don't know what it will look like. Yes, I'll see you in the making. Okay? Okay, so here you see that I have some contact paper. I got this at Walmart. You've seen me use this before. And I also have a Cricut cutting mat. This is a 12 by 24 because my design is 11.5 by 20. And here you see my design on my Cricut cutting program, and I'm laying down the contact paper down towards the sticky area, the glossy to the top, and that's what it looked like on my Cricut cutting machine, and this is what it looked on the program. And then I started pulling out that contact paper. I made two mistakes here. One, I needed extra hands or a plan when I pulled it out, and two, I didn't have my fabric folded so I could find center. So I had to go back, fold my fabric, and then I had my daughter share her hands with me so that I could unstick the contact paper from itself. Yeah, it started sticking to itself, but it was okay. You could pull it apart and it doesn't make a huge mess. So here you see me have my fabric, some water, and my paint. I was really concerned about this paint because it looks pretty thick when I opened the container, and I wanted to make sure that it wasn't so thick that when I got on the long arm that I would have problems with my thread breaking because of the paint. So I got some water. I wanted to thin this paint out as much as I could, and instead of marking my fabric, I was hoping that that template that I made would keep the area white and the paint would go around. That was my hope. It didn't turn out that way, but it worked out. Now, I was really extremely nervous when I started messing with my fabric and putting paint on it, because this paint is not supposed to come off on fabric, and the way this paint works is you heat set it. So I did a very thin layer of paint and just kind of dry brushed it onto my fabric and just was very cautious about it until I got more comfortable as I continued working with the paint. I figured that if I added more water it would be better, but here you could see on this side the filigree, you could still see it from where the contact paper was on there and how it bled through on the opposite end because the water, I don't know if I didn't have my contact paper completely set down and water was able to seep in. So I decided to keep on going even though it looks like a hot mess. It looks like a gross mess here. I almost gave up, but I decided to add the paint and kind of water it around, and I waited for my fabric to dry, and I used my Mark Be Gone fine pen with my fabric dry and the paint dry, and I marked all the way around because the water did seep through under the design, and I wanted to make sure that I could see the filigree when I went to the long arm and started quilting. So here you see that I marked everything, And it did take me a little bit, maybe like 10 minutes to do this. It didn't take that long. But I did it not knowing if I was going to be able to see the outline once I took that contact paper off. Once I took it off, I was really surprised that you could really still see the design, but you can also see where the water did seep in under that contact material. Didn't work out, but it's okay. I'm working with it. So here I'm on my long arm quilting machine. I had Warm and Natural on the bottom, and I had Low Loft Poly. I folded it by 4 to make it more loftier, and this thread is my embroidery thread. It's a beige gold kind of color, and I use cotton thread in my bobbin. I'm on my long arm, and I'm going to go ahead and baste this sucker down because I have, in a sense, 5 layers of batting, 4 layers of poly, 1 of Warm and Natural. And now that I got on my long arm, started quilting everything, after everything was tacked down, I'm following that line that I drew, and I'm just working my machine through that filigree. What I started doing after I went on the outside of that filigree, I did start working on the inside of the filigree. What I did here is I didn't pull up the bobbin thread. I just stitched forward and backwards and went on the inside areas of the filigree. I outlined the outside edge of that filigree, and then I went ahead and I echoed. I just kept following the shape of the design that I outlined, and then after that I went forward and backwards at the end of each stitch and skipped to the other end of the next area of the inside filigree. I hope I'm explaining it right. Hopefully visually you could see it. I didn't pull up my bobbin every time I did the inside area of the filigree. I did have some threads I needed to cut afterwards, but I think it saves more time if you do it that way. Here I have my Lisa Cali arc ruler, and I'm going around in that circular inside design. I'm trying to stay as clean as I possibly can because it is a circle or an oval. I want to make sure that it looks nice and clean and I don't have any sharp areas, even though in the end you do see that I did make some mistakes, but as a whole you don't see them when you see the whole design. And in a minute I'm going to just show you some pictures of what my stitching looked like. Here you see where the stitching looks like and how it's not perfect, and now you also see how I filled in that filigree. Now when I started quilting the very bottom of this banner, I went ahead and I had to follow the stitch line or the line that I created and follow the end of the filigree and taper in. After I got to the end of it, I went ahead and I started echoing everything. And here I'm just showing you again how I had to fill in that filigree in this area and how I echoed. It's a better view in comparison to how I had it on the GoPro. So I'm just showing you what it looks like in a different view. And here you could see how I followed the lines that I created with the design of the filigree and how it's not perfect. The truth is it doesn't have to be perfect, and this is what I did on the inside. I also went and I echoed all the way around the end of the filigree, and I'm just showing you some overviews of what it looked like. Now in this watercolor area, I followed it along, and then I also echoed it, and then I used my Lisa Cali arc ruler, and I started just doing 4th lines and following that stitch that I created right there and then coming back down. This was pretty simple. I just had to maintain the foot close to the ruler because sometimes I would kind of just pull the machine and it wouldn't look right. So yeah, also keep in mind that when you're doing an arc, do the arc in the same direction on both sides to keep it in unity, and also when you're doing the left side, being mindful how you have your arc. So here I'm showing you some pictures of some close-ups. You can see my stitching is not perfect, which is okay, it's still beautiful. And I'm showing you what the watercolor looks like or what the paint looks like on the fabric. And I'm also showing you how I did the arcs. Some of the arcs are a little bit different, but in the same direction, how they look like on the right and the left, and how I also quilted this area of the banner. As a whole, I think this looks beautiful. Of course, it's not perfect because it's custom quilting, but I really do thank you for watching, and I hope you like this eye candy.